a lot of people have been asleep. They've been in their fucking comfortable bubble. They're comfortable with the way the world works. And then 2020 happens, and it's been one thing after another. It seems like we can't catch a break this year. Like, man, nobody could have predicted this shit, right? It starts with the Chiefs winning the Super Bowl. We got to give them credit for that, because that's really the best part. And we started nice, but then Kobe, and then Corona, and then police brutality, and then killer hornets, and then UFOs, and then the fucking dust storm that's going to cover the globe. And then apparently Yellowstone is showing signs that, hey, it could be blowing soon. It could be.
Really?
Yo, did you hear about the super
No.
volcano? Do you know about the super volcano?
No, where is it located?
Yellowstone, look it up. You have the computer right there. I'm not quite sure exactly where Yellowstone is. I think it's western part of the U.S., probably central or north, if I'm guessing, on the west part of the U.S. Anyways, all this shit is happening, and I think what's really happening is it's giving society as a whole, not just the U.S., not just a few cities, but countries, parts of the world. We're facing adversity like we haven't in decades, right? And I think if we're talking about trying to raise the consciousness, make people more woke, make people more appreciative of each other, of the luxuries you have, of the resources that you have access to every day, I think this is going to actually be a positive effect out of 2020. A lot of people are going to come out of here with a lot more perspective than they had before, which I am truly grateful for.
Yeah, no, I feel the same way because like I'm 21 and I haven't experienced anything like
You're
this.
only 21?
Yeah, I mean 22.
Okay.
Yeah, and I haven't experienced anything like this in my whole like life. Like this is, you know, like it's just really shining a lot of perspective and a lot of light to where my downfalls are, because I think now is more the time to have that self leadership. Because if not, you're just gonna fall comfort, and we all know where that goes.
Yeah. So where is Yellowstone at?
Yellowstone is 1 sec.
He doesn't have his glasses, so he can't read the screen. So basically, a super volcano is what Yellowstone is. So you think about
that's where like the hot springs is, right?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
And like the geysers that shoot out of the ground, right? So that's a super volcano. So that whole thing is basically the part of the volcano that is covered in just lava, you know, but that's like the ground above the center of the volcano. And it's a super volcano, so it's the whole fucking Yellowstone Park is on top of it. So it's such a big volcano, it covers like a decent size of that state, you know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. And so there's been talk, there's a lot of documentaries. I saw one when I was like 12 and it scared the shit out of me. And it said basically when this super volcano blows, this goes off about once every 200,000 years. Last time it went off, 200,000 years ago. And so it's due anytime, right? But when it goes off, it's going to be such a cataclysmic event that instantly it's going to vaporize like the western half of the U.S., all right?
Holy.
And then the ash, the fallout is going to kill a large percentage of the
kind of like Pompeii.
Yeah, pretty much.
That like similar.
Imagine that covering like the whole western half of the U.S.
Fuck.
Yes.
That's crazy.
And apparently there's been some seismic activity that's like, yo, Yellowstone, what the fuck you doing, bro?
What if the Mayans, that's what the Mayans were referring to.
That's what I'm saying. That's why it's such a crazy thing that people are saying that the Mayan calendar is actually supposed to end this year. All this shit happened in one right after the other. The fucking person we all love, Kobe Bryant. The world stopped for not just a day, but like a week after that. All right. And then a month later, you know what? I don't want to put this energy out into the world, but when that happened, two things happened in my head. One, I'm so deep down the alien rabbit hole that instantly I was like, how are aliens connected to Kobe's death? Immediately I overcame that because I was like, okay, maybe it's not. Aliens don't have to be at the blame for everything.
Yeah.
But the second thing that happened, I was like, yo, what if it was like the world saying, we want to take out the good from this world before all the bad happens?
Bro, it's kind of like the Bible. What is it in the Bible? Where like they Judgment Day, right?
Yeah. Well, that's the apocalypse. That's in the book of Revelation. That's where the fucking 4 horsemen of the apocalypse come from.
Oh.
It's all in the same story. So, yeah, you and I are elaborating on the same thing, but specifically the Bible talks about the 4 horsemen of the apocalypse, and they kind of come in and carry out the apocalypse that ends the world. The book of Revelation. It's the final book in the Bible.
I heard that book gets crazy. Have you read it?
The Bible or the Book of Revelation?
The Book of Revelations.
I've read it, but it's been over maybe 20 years. Like I was saying on the last podcast that I went to a Christian school. I went to a Christian school up until like age 12, 11 or 12. And so, yeah, we would have to study the Bible for about an hour every single day. Like it was math, like any other class. We had religion class. And so I'm familiar with most of the stories in the Bible, but as far as specific details, I'm a little hazy. Just like I told you on the last time you were here that I have a black belt in Hapkido, which is kind of a branch of Taekwondo. But I remember kind of the basics of like spacing and sparring. But as far as being like technically sound and fundamentally sound, I'm 30 now, and I haven't been in like martial arts class since I was like 11. So, yeah, obviously I'm going to be rusty, but yeah, I'm familiar with books of the Bible, and it is pretty crazy, which is kind of why I'm like, the Bible itself is insane in itself because so many people interpret it so literally because there's so many things that are left open for discussion. You can either interpret it super literally or you can interpret it as like a metaphor. And the book is riddled with metaphors. And it's kind of like the inception of metaphors because these stories that people take literally are also stories of Jesus telling metaphors and similes and like parables is what they call them. And so it's like a parable within a parable. So you don't even know what to interpret and how you should interpret it, because if you think about where a lot of these books and stories came from, like they were written thousands of years ago, and then it had to get translated into languages multiple times. So you think about, like Clark was saying on the last podcast, the game of telephone we can't even play without getting a message altered, right? Now you think about doing the same game of telephone but also trying to translate languages at every step of the way. And then there was also these people, and this is all in like the Da Vinci Code, right? They even kind of showed this a little bit, which is just a movie and a fictional book, but it's based on actual like research that this guy spent decades doing to write the book. And the whole book of the Bible in itself is crazy, is because a fucking congregation of people hundreds of years ago said, hey, let's decide what we put in the Bible, what we want to rewrite, reword, and what we want to leave out of the Bible, what books we won't even include that were supposed to be included in the Bible. So a Bible is really just like, it's like a cliff notes of what was actually there translated into a different language. And you think like I'll just get one email from a customer who's in a different country and I have trouble understanding what he's saying.
Yeah.
And the people run their lives on this fucking book. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, there's a lot of crazy shit. I kind of just went ranted.
I wonder like if this is going to push the Elon Musk's, narrative a little bit more forward, in the sense where like, are we going to start focusing a lot more of our efforts to go live out into space? Because let's say Yellowstone does happen, right? Then people are going to be worried like, oh, where are we going to relocate? And all this kind of questions come up into play. So it's like, is that going to?
Well, there are, I'm guaranteeing you that society will move on, at least advanced parts of it. We're not going to start over from scratch, because there's definitely underground facilities that go for miles and miles and miles that I know for a fact that the government has, and they've got years and years and years worth of supplies and food down there, and also the ability to grow more food down there underground in these underground facilities.
So it's like a bunker?
It's definitely a bunker, and they got a lot of these bunkers that go on for miles. So people will survive. It's all about making sure you get there, but only if you're in the government and you have access to that.
Or you know people.
Or you know people who knows people. Or you're one of the survivalists who kind of plan for this shit. But super volcanoes, man, I get anxiety even thinking about it, because it's one of those things that you can't predict and you have no clue. And when it goes off, you're fucked. So you can't do anything about it. So it's almost like, well, why worry about it? But man, I hope it doesn't go off.
You ever watch the show Doomsday Preppers?
Yeah.
Bro, imagine I wonder where they're at. What they're thinking right now.
Well, they're all bunkered away somewhere, probably.
Oh, true.
Have you ever seen any good Doomsday Preppers on that show?
No, I don't think I have. A lot of them have to do with like just going into the woods, a lot of guns, get a boat, and just ride the river.
Yeah, I mean, most of those fucking dudes, I feel like I saw one guy. They live in like a shitty house. They're broke, and they're spending all their money on ammunition, guns, and gold, because they're like, well, after the apocalypse, you got to be able to barter with people, so you got to keep these valuable things. But he's also spending all of his fucking money on it, and living a low quality life, because any money he does get, he doesn't save it, he doesn't invest it, he invested in ammunition. But I mean, you're preparing for a hypothetical survival scenario that you don't know when it will come, if ever. And I guarantee there's a lot of people out there who have spent their whole lives prepping and then ended up dying without ever and actually having to use any of the shit that they. And I would say most of the preppers I've seen are a little bit irrational, illogical, because it's like, dude, do you really think you're going to survive just with a few things of gold and a bunch of guns? What if a fucking apocalypse does happen, your house gets fucking raided, you think all those guns with you only is going to protect you from whoever's trying to raid your house if it's a group of people? Or if the fucking super volcano goes off, you think your guns are not going to just get vaporized instantly along with you? Yeah. So the best one that I saw was like a guy in Texas, and he was... he had this whole bug out location that's a gated, just like acres and acres of land, and is gated. And you go in there, and even at his house, he has a natural water well that basically pumps water into this container that's just like reinforced concrete. So nothing's basically going to bring down that water fucking container, and it's going to be an endless supply of water for him. So that's probably the best thing I've seen as far as like water and survivalists. But man, for as far as survivalists goes and doomsday preppers, there's so much shit that you could be prepping for. And a lot of them, if you prep for one, it'll contradict the efforts of the other. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. So you also have to be like kind of aware of like which one you're kind of sticking with, you know, because if you're preparing for zombies is going to be way different than preparing for like a volcano.
Yeah. Well, where we're at, we might as well not even prep for the volcano because we're fucked regardless if it goes off. But I don't know, man. I even told myself, this is fucking crazy. Before I moved to Arizona, I said to myself, why are you fucking going out to Arizona? That's right in the fucking blast zone of the super volcano. And here I am in Arizona, and here we are talking about the super volcano potentially going off soon.
So that was like a thought you had.
Straight up. It's been a subconscious fear ever since I saw the documentary when I was like 12 on TV. I was like the History Channel. And it showed like just this fucking huge wall from the sky to the ground of like smoke and ash and lava, just like going at like the speed of sound, basically, just traveling across the states, you know, and just like wiping it all out instantly.
Dude, that's crazy. Yeah. I mean, where would you even go? Like, what part of the U.S. is going to...
East. You got to go east, bro. So I think they even drew like a little blast zone radius on this documentary. And I think in Kansas, because I was on the very eastern part of Kansas, right where the chunk is taken out in the top corner, like that's where Kansas City is. And I think I was right outside of the fucking area. But then you got to think about all the fallout from the ash and how that's going to affect plant life, the earth itself. You know, it's the people who die early, who get vaporized instantly, they almost get it easy because they don't have to put up with all the fallout afterwards. Effects. But, you know, I'm an optimist, so I got to be in the fallout so I can survive long term, you know, because I'll find a way. Na, 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 na.